This is Carl at National RV Detroit, and I'm going to walk you through this 2022 Flagstaff High-Wall Hardside pop-up. And the model number is T21FH, or excuse me, FSHW. T21 FSHW. Alright, so this is not a floor plan video or a setup video. This is just a how-to video. It's sort of, I guess you could look at it as a supplement to the video you get from the manufacturer. So when they'll give you a link in your packet to the setup video, and they do a really good job with it, so that's really the way to go. But what I'm going to do is take you through some of the features and show you how they work and explain explain it a little bit. So we'll start right here at the door side rear, and of course this is a crank, obviously, for your stabilizer jacks. You can also use a 3/4 inch socket on a drill. This plastic thing here is just a table. The table hangs on next to the grill. You have to slide the grill down, but that's what it does. This is just a bag for your cord. That's all. And then you see way back there, there's a porta potty thing, a bucket with a toilet lid, or seat, I mean. So when it comes to the let me open this here. When it comes to the grill, it just hangs it right here. The thing you have to remember is you have to plug it in. So you pull this quick connect out of the port here, and then you're going to connect it right down here. If I can get a picture of it for you, right there, it's going to go. And then you're just going to draw propane right from the tanks up front. You've got an outside speaker, a porch light. This is the lift for the roof. Now, this is a power roof, so just the peak part, the roof parts, are automatic. The sides fold down. You physically, they're on hinges, and you physically put them in the up position. Now, the only thing I want to tell you about the roof is when you're in the down position, for example, and you move it all the way up by pushing the button, and it doesn't always latch at the top. It might just have a little gap. All you got to do is take a hold of this and just jostle it, and it'll pop right into place. Same thing if you're trying to bring it down. Sometimes it'll stick a little bit. You just jostle it just a couple pushes, and it'll snap loose. So keep that in mind. It's not difficult to do. Also, one other thing I want to tell you about is this has counterbalance springs in it. Each roof section has counterbalance springs, right? So if you ever have a problem where you have your actuator, that's this piece right here. If you ever have trouble where this actuator doesn't work, you can still rise and lower it. It's better to have two people because this is a big trailer. But all you do is take your wrench, unscrew this, unscrew it there, and unplug it here, and take this right off. Then you can use the it's lightened up because of the tension springs on it, right? And you just grab it by those handles there if you have to stand on something, and you just push up and it'll come loose just like I told you. You just jostle it, it'll come loose, and then you just let them down, and they'll come down. They're like I said, they're heavy, but they're counterbalanced by a torsion spring in there, so it's not that bad. So keep in mind, you can always get it up and down. Okay, so let's move down a little farther here. Under here is a table. You can access under the couch. It's probably the easiest way to get to it. And this right here, this crank right here, is for the power tongue jack. If your power tongue jack ever fails, you can pull this plug and you can put the crank on there and crank it manually. Okay, this is it's a good quality jack. It has a light on it, and it has up and down, of course. So it makes it very easy to hitch up. But like I said, with that crank, you can always crank it manually. You have storage up here. Most people will put their grill up here, plus hoses, things like that. Okay. Then you have a bin here underneath it. This you just wrangle out, and you can see it goes the length of just about the whole length of the trailer. Okay, so there's more storage. Now, you only have one battery in here, but If you choose to, you can add a second. So there's just one battery in here, and if you decide you want to do that, make sure you wire it correctly so it stays 12 volts. There's two ways to do it. You can wire it so two 12-volt batteries make 24 volts. You don't want to do that. You want to wire it so two 12-volt batteries put out 12 volts and just double the storage capacity, okay? So you got two 20-pound tanks, an automatic changeover regulator. Okay, this right here is just a gauge. If this tank was to go empty, this will turn red. Right now, I'll show you right here, watch. See how it turned green? I just turned the tanks on. So it turns green. If this tank was to go empty, it would go red. Then you point it at this other one, and it will tell you if there's gas in it or not. It's not a gauge. It just tells you whether you have gas or not, which is kind of a gauge, I guess. You have power brakes on this, so there's your breakaway switch. Okay, let me move a little farther. This is the water heater. The switch to control it is inside. Well, you can see it runs on gas, and this is where you drain it right here. Right now, this is a winterized trailer. That means the water heater will be empty. It's bypassed in the back. You have to educate yourself about that if you don't know. Just look on YouTube about winterizing trailers. And right now, there's antifreeze in the system, and this water heater is empty. So you can never run it empty. So always make sure the tank, which is right behind this, is full before you do that. There's also valves on that tank that allow you to bypass it. Okay, I can't go into too much detail about that, but keep all that in mind, please. You may know all this stuff too. I just have to kind of assume that you don't. So, but that socket to remove that plug is an 1 1/16 6-point socket. Plus you need about a 6-inch extension and a bar or a ratchet to break it loose. Okay? Your power cord is 30 feet and 30 amp, and we do give you a reducer to reduce it down so you can plug it in at home. Let's see, that's the drain for your refrigerator, the condensation drain, that white hose there. Plus you have low point drains here, which is the lowest point of the plumbing. That has to do with winterization, of course. This right here is your sink drain. Okay, this is your city water hookup here, right? This is your freshwater tank fill. So this has a fresh water tank on it. So if you're camping somewhere where there's not plumbing, you can pre-fill the tank and then use the 12-volt pump to pump the water. Everything will work as though you had city water. So if you got city water, you hook it up here. If you're going to camp without it, you pre-fill the tank here. They're totally independent of each other in that sense. And this is just a coax through. You could use it for cable, campground cable, or you can use it for a antenna, whatever you want to go through to the inside with. All right. And of course, that is your furnace vent. And then there's a freshwater drain under here. You have to trust me about that. So behind here is your heat pump. This has a heat pump. That means it heats and cools. So you in a normal running, it cools like an air conditioner, but when you click it to heat mode on the thermostat, it actually goes in reverse and draws heat from the air. So, or the heat from the air is put inside the trailer instead of outside the trailer, I guess is a better way to put it. That'll work down to about 40 degrees or so, 35, 40. And when it gets colder than that, you've got a propane furnace. So you got two ways to heat it, okay? This is another pull out here, right here. A little more storage. Okay. This device here, I'll show you inside, but this is a Wi-Fi Ranger. This will allow you to boost public Wi-Fi, and it works as a router also. So I'll explain that to you on the inside. And because this is a trailer, you have to inspect the seals. So regularly, some manufacturers will say 90 days, but on a regular basis, you're going to look at any place you see sealant from the factory and make sure it's not cracking or separating. It just takes you a few minutes to go over the trailer, but really, if you do that and it does develop a crack somewhere down the road, a gap where water can get in, you can fix it just like that, and it won't do any damage at all. But the idea is to keep the water out. So if you do that, this takes something called clear Proflex. Never use caulk from the hardware store. Always get the correct stuff from an RV place. All right. All right. Clear Proflex. So this has a lot of features, this trailer. I'll start with the roof section. So one thing to remember when you do bring the sides down, which is the first step in putting it away or putting it in the stowed position. So you got to remember that once you start dropping these walls, you can't reach these two latches. So you always go down and do these two first, right? And then you'll start here. You'll drop this one down. You stand in the doorway here and drop the other one down, okay? But always undo these two first. Okay, so this is your heat pump. Like I explained out there, it runs forward and backwards, so it heats and it cools. To access your heat pump, your water filter canister, your water pump, all that stuff is under here. You have to remove these two screws. All the screws on the trailer are number 2 square-headed screws, so if you don't have that bit, you got to get one. And if you take that off, you'd see all the water pump, the water filter canister, things like that, under, as well as the heat pump. All right. This is a switch for your water pump right here, okay? And that's the other end of that coax that I said came through. You could use campground cable or whatever you want, okay? Your range is very simple. Always keep the lid down when you're traveling. Never leave it up. It'll crack. So you're just going to spark it. Now I had the gas off, so it's going to take a minute to get the, there you go, to get the gas up here. So there you have it. So you spark it by turning this clockwise. And of course you got 3 knobs and 3 burners. Then you have the oven knob over here. The oven's a little bit different. There's a way at the back. At the bottom is a pilot light. So you can see me sparking it right there. Okay? So what you do is you go to the oven knob, you go to the picture of the flame, which means pilot light. Then you depress it. You keep it depressed during the whole lighting procedure. Then you're going to spark it with this hand till it lights down here. After it lights, you still hold it for another 10 seconds to heat up the thermocouple. Then you go to operating temperature, right? But whenever you shut it off, the flame goes out, but so does the pilot light. So you have to relight the pilot light each time you use the oven. Okay. I think I got that there. So let's look over here. Obviously, before you drop the roof, you unscrew this and pull it off. Let me just show you. And then you just pull it loose. Whoops, a little bit farther. And then you pull it loose and put it in your sink. So you have to remember to do that. Your microwave works like any other microwave. This is the furnace here, the LP furnace. Over here we have the thermostat. So the thermostat, you just hit the mode button to light it up. Right now we're off. You go to auto, cool, air conditioning. Always run it on auto if they give you a chance. Furnace, heat pump, off. So basically you have furnace, which is LP gas. Then you have heat pump, which is the air conditioner running in reverse to heat, and then cool, which is the air conditioner. When they give you an option of running the fan on auto, always choose auto. Of course, this is the radio. It comes with a remote also, but it has 2 zones, A and B, or where is it, 1 and 2? It's 1 and 2. 1 is inside the trailer, 2 is outside the trailer. It's got AM, FM radio. You can stream off this USB here. It has Bluetooth, so you can stream from your tablet or phone. It does a lot. This HDMI is an in if you needed to go into the system with something, so it does a lot. Down here, you have your ceiling lights and floor lights here, but right here it says Wi-Fi. This is the Wi-Fi Ranger. So if you look at this sticker, it's not going to be, you might not be able to read this, so I'll tell you what it says. If you look at the top line, it says Wi-Fi Ranger, and then it says Sky 4 LTE 5769. That's you. So when you look at you and your family's phones, for example, in the Wi-Fi section, you'll see that. So you want to put a password in your phone and their phones, so it'll automatically hook up to the Wi-Fi Ranger when it's searching for Wi-Fi, right? Then if you look at the bottom, it says Control Panel, and it has this address. So you punch this address into a browser, and it'll take you to the web page for this. The temporary password is right here, Change Me Now, 5769, so you're going to want to make up your own password for that. But once you get there, you'll be able to see everything the Wi-Fi Ranger sees. So you'll pick out, in this case, campground Wi-Fi, whatever it's called. If they have a passcode they give you, or you can punch that in right then. And then your system, the Wi-Fi Ranger, hooks up to the public Wi-Fi. So what it does, it really boosts your signal really well, so you get a much stronger signal. It has a built-in firewall, I'm told. That's what I read anyway, but it definitely boosts your signal. So keep that in mind. That's the Wi-Fi riser. Now there is another feature for it. If you wanted to, you could pursue it, and you could actually get cellular service through it, through who your provider is. You'd have to look into that a bit, but that you have to pay for. This is free, and it really does a good job with boosting the Wi-Fi. Okay. All right. So that's everything there. Obviously, that's the fire extinguisher. Magazine rack. More shallow storage. This is your power converter. I'll show you that in a minute. But you can see you have storage under here. There's that table I showed you, right? Okay. So let's see here. Over here, just let me look for a second. This is the back of your water heater. I told you there were valves back here. I know you can't see it very well, and I do have a flashlight, but I don't know how good it's going to do us. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. So you can see there are valves here. And then there's a line that runs between the blue and the red line that loops around. That's called a bypass line. So, like I said, it's easy to go on. If you want to learn and you don't already know, go to on YouTube and try to stick with manufacturer sites because they're usually more accurate than some of the more creative sites. But anybody can do it if you don't already know. It's not a big deal. It's got to be done. Obviously, winterized in the fall and then dewinterized in the summer or spring. All right. So this plug has a GFCI. Every plug in the trailer is wired through this GFCI, even the one on the outside. So keep that in mind. This is where you light your water heater, right here. This is a carbon monoxide LP gas detector. It should always be green. If not, get it serviced because it's important. So it'll go off, it detects LP gas leak, carbon monoxide, and also if it beeps very, very slowly, it's telling you your battery's low. So I can put it through the paces here so you can hear it. LP test is good. Carbon monoxide coming up. Okay, that's good now. Low battery alarm. And then it goes back to green. It should always be green. Okay, so this is your power converter. This converts AC to DC power. So on this side you've got the panel here. So your distribution panel here. So and you have circuit breakers just like you'd see at home, and of course they're all labeled, right? That's 110 AC. Then it's converted to 12 volt DC on this side. You got 12 volt fuses, and they're all labeled right here. Also, these will light up if they blow, so you'd actually be able to see them through this perforation. They should never really blow. If they do, let me open this back up again. This is a master fuse there. That's probably where the problem's going to be. Okay. Also, this is a battery tender. It always will keep your battery charged. So it senses how much energy, as long as you're plugged in, it senses all the energy, or how much energy your battery has, and it will, keep it charged accordingly. If it's already topped off, it'll just trickle a couple amps to maintain it. If it's low, it'll send 10 amps or whatever it needs to stay charged. So when you're plugged in at the campground, this power converter is charging your battery. When you're pulling down the road, your tow vehicle's alternator is charging it. So you always have 12 volts, which brings us to the refrigerator, which is a three-way refrigerator. Okay. Obviously this is on and off right here. Then you can see you've got all your controls here. So I'm not going to, what I am going to tell you is the most common thing to use when you're plugged in. Right? See, this one right here is DC power. So that's running on 12 volts right now. So that means it's running off the battery, or off the power converter, which is charging the battery. Okay, you heard it kick on. Maybe, I don't know if you can hear it on there right when that happened. But if you go, this is tricky here. That's gas, dedicated to gas, and that's auto AC power. That's the most common way when you're at a campground, because what it does is it seeks out 110 AC. And if it finds it, it uses it. If it can't find it, it'll automatically switch over to gas for you. That's why it's called auto. A better way to look at it is if you're leaving the campground for the day, it's early in the morning, it's going to be a scorching hot day, and you're going to be gone until dark, so you leave. An hour after you leave, the campground loses its power. Well, it'll sense that, and it'll automatically switch over to gas for you so you don't spoil your food. So that's the most common way. But you can run it on 12 volt DC. Let me do this right here. Like that, when you're pulling down the road, if you need to keep it cool, just remember to unplug your trailer. If you're going to stay in a motel or something, or any place, make sure you unplug your trailer so it doesn't just drain your batteries. Okay. So, and then of course that's temperature. So Auto electric is the most common way to do it. Hope that makes sense to you. Okay, so let me look, see if I've got anything else. Like I said, you look, follow the link and go to the setup for this trailer on Forest River's website. Also, this couch is a jackknife, so you can grab it right here and jackknife it into a bed. Okay? Okay, and of course this one has a dormer, gives you extra room, and there's a table stowed away. So, okay, I want to thank you for purchasing your trailer here at National RV Detroit. Remember what I said about inspecting the seals on the trailer? You always want to spend a few times in the summer, and you want to just look at it, make sure everything's good and tight. If you see any separation, take care of it immediately. You don't have to take it anywhere. All you have to do is have a caulk gun and the correct stuff. This is clear Proflex is what most places use, but you have to don't get the stuff from the hardware store. And you clean it off with a solvent, just the area, and then you just caulk right over it. Just run a bead and rub it in with your finger, and you're all set. It's very simple. Okay. Also, this trailer is winterized, so keep in mind the water heater is empty and it's bypassed. So make sure you take care of that before you use it. Okay. Thank you very much.